The Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Good morning, class, and welcome back to the Nerd Academy podcast, your source for nerddom news and commentary. I am your host and superior webhead master, Jared Bachman Stubbs, and joining me, as always, the podcasting Mark Spector and Stephen Grant to my podcasting Khonshu. I didn't want to make myself the god, but I also didn't want to take away any of the other characters played by Oscar Isaac. So rocking a hard place on that one. It's Travis Grossman.
Yeah, I don't know who else you could have given yourself.
Yeah. I kind of got stuck there. I was going to say Arthur Harrow because Ethan Hawke is killing it, but I'm like, I love Travis. Travis is my buddy.
I don't want to create an Egyptian god fascist dictatorship.
I don't. So all of it's so specific. But yeah, we got a good show for you guys this week. We got some trailer talk, which is always a treat. We're going to be talking about the first 3 episodes of Moon Knight. And tonight, because the stream is getting uploaded the same day, our episode rather, Spencer and I are finally doing the Versus Series stream. We're doing it at 8 p.m. tonight. I am so excited to finally get this done. I don't want to say out of the way. Scheduling has been a nightmare between work for the two of us, personal things for the two of us, school for Spencer. It has been hell on wheels, and I am super excited that once we get this done, I feel like we'll be able to get the Patreon content, get the blood flowing again, as it were. So, yeah, in the meantime, Travis, how you doing, buddy? How you enjoying this snowy weather on April 19th, 2022?
I finally get my back fixed, and suddenly it's just white outside my window, and everything's bad again. It is a terrible time. But I can go to work and the gym and not feel like I want to die. So,
I mean, that's good. I've been thinking about you. I've been worried about you and your back.
I went to the chiropractor for the first time in my life, and I went in and I was explaining what I was feeling, and he went, "Yeah, most pelvises sit like this. Yours is like this."
That'll do it. That'll do it. Holy shit!
He like snapped my whole back into place, and I was good to go.
Holy hot damn, dude. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better. I've had a hell of a week. I got a story for you and the rest of Team TNAP when I have more ideas as to what's going on the other end. I may not be at the current bar I 10 bar at by the end of the summer. We may have reached critical mass. But I'm not going to tell that story here, at least not yet. It's a fun one, though. So, yeah, before we jump in to the news, to some Thor Love and Thunder trailer talk, we are going to get a quick word from our lovely sponsors at SundaysBloodyMary.com. One moment. My cursor keeps disappearing on me. There we go. Holy Christ. What is happening there? Okay, that was scary. You guys know the drill by now, even if my screen doesn't.
This is the ad for Bloody Mary the Demon.
Yeah. You guys know the drill by now. SundaysBloodyMary.com has the best Bloody Mary accoutrement on the planet. The spicy Caesar mix is my favorite Bloody Mary flavor profile I have ever had in my life. I'm going to be finishing off my jar tonight during the Versus stream. They also have a mild mix if spicy isn't your thing, and rim salt. And a vegan mix, a subscription box. So you can get 2 jars a month. They also added to their merch recently and added a dad hat that I will be purchasing because it's cute. It's got that little tomato heart. Actually, while I speak, it's a little tomato heart that Annie, one of the lovely folks who runs Sunday Bloody Mary, do these little tomato hearts that are in every package. Here, I got a couple on the board on the wall. I'm gonna full screen myself real quick. One of these jimmies, and they put it on a hat. So go check that out. I think it's very cute. You know, it's not a. It's not. It doesn't scream. Hi, this is a Bloody Mary company, which I quite like a lot. So yeah, go over to sundaysbloodymary.com/shop. Use code TNAP at checkout. TNAP. And you get 10% off your order, and you help out your favorite nerds while you do it. Travis,
Yes.
thoughts on the Thor Love and Thunder trailer? We finally had it. It's so funny because the version of this show we were going to try to do last week, and then we found out that your pelvis is crooked. The Thor Love and Thunder news we had was the toy leak. That like the Marvel Legends figures had leaked as well as all the box art. And we were like, ooh, like here's a good look at Thor. Here's a good look at Valkyrie. Here's a good look at Gore the God Butcher. And that was the biggest Thor news you thought we were going to have. And then, boom, we have a trailer now. So, thoughts on the trailer?
It looks like a Taika Waititi-led Thor movie. And
It certainly
I'm
does.
excited. I'm very excited.
I concur. Yeah, I'm really excited for this as well. I really, really love the aesthetic of the trailer. You know, I myself am not like an 80s classic rock kind of guy. But I appreciate what they're doing with the vibe, especially considering that it looks like at least a good chunk of the movie is going to be Thor and Star-Lord.
Mm-hmm. Which is
So I
surprising.
think
I figured that would have been like the first 10 to 20 minutes, you know?
first 10, 20 minutes, and whenever the final battle starts, I wouldn't be surprised if the Guardians reappear to help take on Gore. That's my gut on that one. But yeah, I love the look of the trailer. I love the diversity of outfits that Thor's gonna have. You know, again, a Marvel continuing to give us the old school classic costumes in live action. In the scene where he's, you know, a teenager running through the trees, and then he goes into his movie outfit. That was really nice. But you know, you have the classic MCU Thor look, at least for a little bit. We still have Fat Thor, you know, working out. And we've talked about, you know, the Fat Thor discourse here a good bit, and I'm sure that whenever the movie comes out, we'll have the last word on Fat Thor discourse. I should make that a shirt for when the movie comes out.
Fat Thor discourse.
In the comments, let us know. Fat Thor discourse shirts or nah. And if you're not watching on YouTube. What was that?
It's just the shot of him with the chains.
Yeah. Again, audio listeners, you can't see me flailing my arms like I'm doing like CrossFit chain things. Yeah, we got Fat Thor. We got like, you know, hair metal leather vest Thor. And then we have the golden blue armor that we've seen in leaks already. But we also get the armor where he doesn't have any sleeves, but he has a big fur collar. So like just from that, I'm super excited. I think that is a really cool like direction to take it from that alone. Just the aesthetic of the movie, it's so colorful. We've talked about this before. I understand and I respect the MCU is like, bland, it looks flat, there's no color. I respect that criticism. I get it. And to a certain extent I agree with it. I think that the MCU visual aesthetic or perhaps lack thereof is something worth discussing. I think it's been discussed to death, and I think it has been used as a blanket MCU bad argument that doesn't really move the needle on any real discussion of the text with the MCU. That said, I am so glad that everything we've got, that things we're getting from the MCU this year, last year, are trying to correct that, and that there have the movies and TV shows we've gotten have been very vibrant for the most part. Or have something striking going on with its visuals. We'll be talking about Moon Knight at the end of the episode. So, we'll get to that.
Skeleton Birdman is quite striking.
Skeleton Birdman and the internet wanting to fuck him because, of course, it does.
That shouldn't faze me at this point. I shouldn't feel the need to dad the internet. Be like,
no? Is this your reaction?
Death to all of them.
No, because I want to help them.
It certainly was mine. But anyway, Thor trailer talk. Also, I just want to bring this up because I want to have the name right. Assad Ribic, one of the artists on the Thor story that's being loosely adapted here. This is again another conversation about how we need to pay comic book artists for the work that they do in that medium, because the shot where Korg and Thor are standing side by side looking at that giant like monster with the giant spikes on its back, which clearly killed by gore, ripped directly from the comics, and it's a great shot. It's going to be up there with scenes like shots ripped straight from the comics, and Batman and Batman v Superman with the lightning strike, and Cap and Tony with the shield and repulsor. This will be one of them. And pay comic book artists for the work that they do, especially when you're going to completely ape it. And I get it. You're adapting the material. It makes sense. But they deserve a paycheck for this as well. I am reminded of the AHA Fraction stuff with Hawkeye and how, again, all of them deserve remarkable compensation for their stories.
Have a new department, bring them on as quote unquote consultants, and have them, like, if you don't want them to do anything, they don't have to do anything. If you want them there to help you direct the shot or scene so that it matches their art better.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't want to pay them royalties because you're evil, at the very least you could do is hire them for other jobs.
That's a great point. I appreciate the acknowledgement of evil here. Another thing I think is interesting is it looks like we're getting the Greek Pantheon as well. We had rumor from a while ago that Russell Crowe would be playing Zeus, and it seems like we see Zeus a couple times in the trailer, just not his face. And it looks like that hanging city looking.
I remember the rumor being that Russell Crowe was going to be playing Mock Odin. Am I remembering that incorrectly?
I saw both. I saw
Okay.
there was like we're gonna have another goofy play where he's playing
And he's
Odin, and then I
yeah.
also saw he might be
Uh,
playing Zeus.
okay.
And I'm going to land on Zeus here. But yeah, so that's cool. And again, in the story with Gore the God Butcher, who again is missing from this trailer. And I think correctly so. I don't think we need to see and I think the best kinds of trailers are the ones that are very much this is the vibe of the movie, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um and while yes, Gore the God Butcher is a striking villain, you know, obviously they are a god killer. Their sword, it is the one that beheaded the celestial that becomes nowhere. There's a lot going on with Gore, and I don't think he will take away from or be like tonally inconsistent from the rest of the movie. However, I think that getting the vibe of our heroes is probably a little bit more important and something I'm excited to get in this trailer. Speaking of our heroes, the big one, we finally got our first look at Natalie Portman's Jane Foster as the mighty Thor. Travis, thoughts on the Jane Foster reveal? How do you think? What are you thinking?
Costume looks great. She looks great. My biggest takeaway from it was the clearly glued back together Mjolnir, and I don't mean that like it looked bad. I mean like it was a joke phrase that I realized in the moment sounded like I was saying, "Oh yeah, the effect looked terrible," but like a clearly reconstructed
Yeah,
Mjolnir, which
reforged Mjolnir. Um,
which I'm curious how that happened.
Me too. I'm so excited to learn about that. Right? Because that was discourse going in. Like, is it going to be a new hammer? Did they reforge Mjolnir? Um,
I
you know,
have a feeling.
it gave me Kylo Ren's helmet and the Rise of Skywalker vibes with like the color glowing out from the cracks. Which is just a
I
cool
have
aesthetic.
I have a feeling like we're gonna get when Jane shows up, we're gonna get this big um flashback and build up to where she is now and how she got to where she is. And nothing will be played as a joke, but like they're gonna set it and shoot it like Dark World.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like they're gonna make it feel like one of the original Thor movies. Um just
I'm
like
into that.
back cut back to Thor and have it be like that was a lot. That was
That
very
would you could
intense.
definitely do that. Big question. Do you think they're going to do the cancer storyline?
They've been using a lot of other comic material. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean and then again like to anyone new around here, yeah, like that seems like a given to anybody, but like you said, like they've been really leaning into source material as of late.
Yeah,
Um
and granted,
so
they know what they can and can't just rip from the comics. You know, um, I think that's something they could absolutely just. We haven't seen Jane since the Dark World, and we find out that having the Infinity Stone in your body gives you cancer. Who would have thunk?
and you continue to further my theory that is the activation of the X gene for a lot of people
The X
is
gene
all
is
of the
just cancer. It's just tumors.
everyone's favorite X-Man tumor. Um but no. So yeah, I'm very excited about this. This looks like everything I wanted it to be. Um Something interesting I want to touch on before we move on is I've seen a lot of people talking about how they don't love Taika Waititi's tone and how they felt like Hela was turned into a quote unquote joke by the end of Ragnarok, and how the movie doesn't take itself super seriously. And to that, I will say this: Taika Waititi has a tendency to frame imperialists and fascists in his story as silly and stupid.
I can't remember
One
the
would,
filmmaker from like the 50s who made it their mission. They were like, I will never make a Nazi look competent
yeah,
in my
Mel
movies.
Brooks.
It was Mel Brooks? Okay. I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah, no, that's a Mel
Um,
Brooks quote.
Okay.
I'm
But
gonna
it's
make
the,
I'm just making them all look like buffoons, and that's what Taika Waititi does, you know. So I think that Hela, and because of the overarching theme of imperialism in Thor Ragnarok, and Hela being, and then like the story of how we in the modern day are made to forget about our imperialist roots. Um, Same with Thor and Hela. That Hela kind of, in my opinion, for Waititi, fell under the umbrella of, like she's a villain and she even gets cool villain moments. Like she has that cool scene where she's like massacring the Asgardian troops. Um, like, she still gets to have her like big Vader energy, to put it that way, type scene where, rat bastard, kind of cool. She still has her moments, but there's still like the YTD-esque, framing of an authoritarian as a dipshit that happens there. Because of Gore's origin story, again, I wouldn't be surprised if we got Waititian humor out of Gore. I don't think Gore will be very silly. Considering we're dealing with somebody whose whole thing is, I prayed to the gods to save me and my family, and they did nothing, and now it's personal, and I'm going to kill every single one of them. I don't think Waititi's going to go in a humorous direction there with Gore.
I think also though, part of why the other reason I think he adds a lot of, injects a lot of humor is that Thor isn't very relatable. Like
No.
I think that's the issue with Dark World, and to a lesser extent the original Thor was, in original Thor you have enough of a grounding where like, oh, he's powerless on Earth and it's funny watching him grow accustomed to Earth things,
Yeah. I need a
versus
horse.
yeah. In Dark World, most of the movie is Asgardian politics, and these plots involving having to break Loki out of prison, and I don't remember the rest of them. Oh, getting the stone out of Jane. See, I don't remember the plot of Dark World because I didn't give a shit because I couldn't relate to it at all.
I think that's fair. I think that
I think adding the
the
humor humanizes them enough that you still have Asgardians doing Asgardian things, while also you don't need to have a human character there for us to latch on to. Like we're laughing and enjoying ourselves, and that way we're staying engaged.
yeah. I think that also Thor is a really hard character to relate to when we first meet him. And I think even if you remove the humor from the equation to a certain extent, you arrive at someone that we've lived with and lost with for so long, that eventually he becomes someone you care about because the journey you've seen him go on. I think that, to make another Star Wars comparison, I think that's something that, I think that's a reason why Obi-Wan Kenobi is so beloved, is that even though, the prequel trilogy screenplays don't give anybody a lot to work with, because Obi-Wan is is so central and is such a Jedi paragon that we follow him for so long and lose everything along with him, that we as the audience can't help but love him. And then you introduce Clone Wars, where everybody actually gets to develop a character. But even then, we live and lose with him even more. So I think even the humor removed, you arrive there, but the humor is like that. Like that's the nitrous oxide that just kicks it, boom, flies right into Thor being a person.
I think Thor, he's had 8 movies worth of character development now. Like he's good on that front. It's not Thor that's the problem. It's everybody else.
True.
It's all of these non-human, not relate. How am I supposed to relate to Gore the God Butcher? Like that's just not. We are not the same. I am not.
I don't know.
Murdering gods for fun, not yet.
And it's not for fun. It's for revenge.
Revenge, whatever.
Revenge
is
fun. Travis. He hates power structures. Gore is an anarchist.
But he's killing mythological creatures, and he's going to talk in a way that is very hard to engage with as an audience, and he's going to have to be kind of funny for me not to fall asleep in the theater, which is why we need Taika Waititi manning this movie, because, man, I've tried watching Thor the Dark World again, and it's not a bad movie. I will say that up front. I don't want to sound like I'm saying it's just a terrible movie, but I cannot stay awake through that movie. Because
I get that.
And it's one of those things. It's the writing equivalent of what I talked about with the Snyder Cut back when it came out, where the ending fight scene wasn't bad. I could not stay engaged or awake because the entire thing practically was black and white. But it wasn't it was just grayscaled, basically. Like there was no color in anything that was happening. And I was like, I can't tell what's going on, and I don't care. It's just a mass of destroyed buildings and bodies, and I can't tell what's what in that pile. So who cares? If I'm watching Thor the Dark World, I'm like, everyone seems to be upset. I don't particularly care about what. Who cares?
Yeah. Oh, that's fair. But yeah, I think that does it for Love and Thunder talk. Travis, you want to take this magic story?
Yeah, this is like 2 weeks old at this point, but Morbius required that we not talk about it when it happened. And then my back
Apologies.
That's you know what? You had to see Morbius, so my apologies.
I don't know if it happened on camera or not, because we love to make plans on camera. Travis and I had a conversation where I was like, hey, you want to see Morbius opening night? Ha, ha, ha. And he kind of took a beat and he went, yeah, I'll try to see it, which I knew meant you're on your fucking own.
There really was a part of me that was like, do I want to go see this movie? And then I forget, I was out doing stuff on Thursday, and it got to be the evening, and I was like, I don't need this. And then I forget what I did on that Friday that I was out. That might have been, I went out to Monroeville a couple Fridays ago. Actually, yeah, I think it was that Friday. To a card shop out there, speaking of MTG. And I spent the day playing Magic. So by the time I got home, I was like, I haven't seen Morbius. And then you were like, I got Armin to do the review, and I'm like, sweet, he's good. I don't gotta spend $10.
He's like, he's on, yeah, fuck that. But anyway, back to your story. I just thought the circumstances of that was funny.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, then we would have talked about it last week, except my back decided we weren't doing it last week either.
That's true.
But 2 weeks ago, Wizards of the Coast announced the return of the Magic the Gathering Pro Tour which is what I've been crying about for like 2 years now, and it hasn't entirely been their fault. We have a thing going on outside that's been stopping people from gathering with
And he's
magic.
not just referring to the fact that it is snowing in
Yeah,
Pennsylvania right now.
yeah, I hate that. But the esports kick didn't work. Wizards of the Coast has decided concretely it didn't work. And for maybe the
win for
first
you.
time, what?
Big win for you. I remember
Yes.
you not loving the esports tinge we were going on.
And in an announcement that for maybe the first time since I've been playing Magic the Gathering was universally praised by everyone involved. We have our new pro play structure and how pro play is going to work in the future, and it makes sense, and they have all the questions basically answered, which is highly unusual. But basically, you go to a regional qualifier at one of your local game stores. If you do well there, you qualify for regionals, which is a big invitational championship in one of your regions. That could be the United States, Canada, groupings in Europe. That this is all on Wizards' website, and it's all easily accessible information and easy to understand information. If you do well at regionals, you make it to the Pro Tour. If you do well at the Pro Tour, you make it to the World Championship at the end of the year. They have a little infographic pyramid that's only 4 steps. It's easy to read and understand. And I'm just happy that at some point in the near future, I will be able to turn on Twitch to watch Pro Magic again, and it won't be on a computer.
I'm very excited for you. I am
if you
very
wanna-
happy and excited for you right now. That makes my heart happy that you are getting your thing back.
And if you want to come play Paper Magic with me in Pittsburgh, if you're local, in 2 weekends, yeah, I will be at Star City Games Con in Pittsburgh, playing in the Modern main event on Friday, and then probably playing Commander the rest of the weekend. So come waste a bunch of money on cardboard in downtown Pittsburgh with me.
Hey, break a leg, kick their ass, and I'm giving you a bunch of cards to hand out. Not playing cards, of course. But...
Yeah.
Dude, I'm so happy with how they turned out, by the way.
Yeah, they look good.
I for those of you at home, because I'm going to an event at the beginning of June, I made a bunch of business cards for the show to hand out and give to people. And as Travis can attest, that kind of thing gives me so much anxiety. I don't trust my eyes when it comes to any type of visual design. I had a little bit of a freak out a couple weeks ago because I didn't like how my thumbnails were turning out, and Travis had a very sweet, very dad like, like, oh man, my thumbnails look like shit. And he was very, what would make you say that? Because Travis is a very wholesome father, and yeah, so I was super nervous with how the business cards were gonna look, and I liked how it looked on my computer screen, but I didn't trust it until I had one in my hand, and I'm excited to hand them out. They're really neat. They got a QR code on the back. I set up a link tree. It's pretty sweet. That was gross. Where are we gonna go next? Captain America 4 isn't shooting anytime soon. I have this in the show notes as Schrodinger's Captain America. About a week ago, Anthony Mackie accidentally made it sound as though the next project he was working on was Cap 4, and then walked that back. So yeah, don't everybody get super excited about Cap 4. It's not on the way yet. This is an interesting one. This is going to be one we're reading directly from the article from. Per Variety. There'll be a lot of Variety articles in this episode. This is Brent Lang and Matt Donnelly. Warner Brothers Discovery exploring overhaul of DC entertainment. Obviously, the Warner Discovery merger is basically complete. So, per the article, the new owners of all things Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are exploring an overhaul of DC entertainment. Multiple sources close to the situation told Variety. It's been less than a week since Discovery closed its $43 billion deal for Warner Media, joining one of the largest producers of reality programming with one of the most venerable entertainment brands under the new moniker of Warner Brothers Discovery. David Zaslav, the CEO of combined companies and top leadership, have been toying with the idea of turning DC into its own solidified content vertical, the sources say. The move could potentially affect DC feature film development in the Warner Brothers Picture Group, streaming series at Warner Brothers Television, and the creative arm within DC proper, all in an effort to have the disparate elements more closely aligned in order to maximize the value of the superhero stable, one often seen as punching up against Marvel. Before the merger closed, Zaslav vetted the candidates with experience in creating and nurturing blockbuster intellectual property with the goal of potentially finding someone to serve as a creative and strategic czar, similar to what Marvel has in Kevin Feige. One of those candidates included Emma Watts, a former top film executive at 20th Century Studios and Paramount, but it does not appear that Watts will take the job. One insider suggested that Zaslav was less interested in finding a creative guru and more eager to hire someone who had the type of business background needed to help all the different factions at DC working more harmoniously. Excuse me. Insiders say that Zaslav believes that the success of the merger, one that has left the company highly leveraged, will rest in no small part on unlocking the full potential of the DC Comics universe of characters. Discovery insiders believe that although DC has achieved cinematic success with recent films such as Aquaman and The Batman, which is now on HBO Max, it lacks a coherent creative and brand strategy. Discovery believes that several top-shelf characters, such as Superman, have been left to languish and need to be revitalized. They also believe that projects like Todd Phillips' Joker are a shining example of how second-build characters from the DC library can be exploited. Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn is another, because Birds of Prey and Joker have so much in common. DC has started to figure out ways for its big screen films to inspire more streaming content. Recent examples include HBO Max's Peacemaker, which is a spinoff to Suicide Squad, which, sidebar, I am halfway through Peacemaker now. Holy shit, is that show good?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what we heard.
Yeah, and I knew it was going to be good from everything I was seeing and hearing. I was very much, I'm going to come back to this when it's all done.
Right.
I've been powering through it. Once I'm done, I might try to do a review here. We'll see. It'll be a little late, but who cares? But yeah, Peacemaker. Go check it out if you haven't watched it yet. As well as an upcoming planned series on Colin Farrell's Penguin and Gotham City's police force. But the company believes that DC must do more to grow its approach to comic book fans, including bolstering gaming. Under Walter Hamada, who took DC Films over from John Berg and Jeff Johns in 2018, the unit has achieved more consistency in terms of both the critical and commercial reception of the company's movies. He is under contract until the end of 2023 and can play an important role in whatever Zaslav has planned. Zaslav has pledged to find $3 billion in synergies in the newly merged company, a signal of how important cutting costs will be to Warner's new owners. Mining DC's library of characters could help control spending as WB Discovery owns the underlying intellectual property, insiders say. Upcoming DC projects include a sequel to Zachary Levi's Shazam, a sequel to Aquaman, the long-awaited franchise starring Black Adam with Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and a third Wonder Woman movie. So, I will say this much. There are a few things that I think, okay, we've had the conversation ad nauseum that even though not everything has to be a shared cinematic universe like the MCU, I want an MCU for the DC universe. I've wanted that since day one. And I will say that even though not all of those movies are great, 2016 into 2017 was a great time for me because I was finally getting it. I had all of these DC films that were all in the same continuity. And yeah, Suicide Squad is cheeks and BVS is cheeks and all of that. Fine, whatever. I was finally getting what I wanted from DC. And then we kind of abandoned ship on that. And that's fine. We've gotten a lot of really good movies since we've abandoned ship on that. I.e., The Batman, which I don't think had a grade lower than A when we reviewed it. And there were like 6 of us on that episode. I'm very curious as to what happens next. If they maintain the everything's kind of in a multiverse, just vibe with it strategy, but it sounds like they're going to try to consolidate into a shared universe. And I've seen people say like, "Oh, I like." You could kind of fall ass backwards into the Batman being an Iron Man, insofar
Yeah.
as like it's step one of a
It
shared
was a good enough
universe.
movie with a cast people really liked that could lead itself into being the foundation of a DC universe.
It could, it really could, and like, and I think it's interesting that if you start with the Batman and making the decision to be like, okay, this universe has super people, like it makes me more hopeful for the future of that franchise, like for Robert Pattinson's Batman specifically. Because if we're just gonna go, oh yeah, speedsters and Krypton and Themyscira and Atlantis and aliens, that means, oh hey, this guy just walks around in a suit of armor that's powered by ice, and no one will bat an eye. And it's like, oh, look at this immortal ninja warlord. Sure, Crocodile Man, jetpacks. It's very easy to just accept all of the comic booky stupid weirdness from that point.
Yeah.
Which could be hard to meld into the Batman universe, although I will argue that I think the Batman strikes a very good balance between comic booky and dark and gritty. But yeah, I think this is very interesting. And again, there's not a whole lot here in terms of what could be happening. But the fact that they're moving in this direction, I think, is notable. Travis, any thoughts before we go to the next one?
I don't want to be pessimistic, and I don't.
Okay.
My pessimism does not come from me thinking they can't do it, like that they're not capable. Because, it's 2 of the biggest media companies combining into one, but they have at least enough money that technically it's capable. I think what they're going to find is the issue that I think Disney has recently been finding with Spider-Man, where you don't have the media real estate, for lack of a better term, to properly flesh out these characters in a way, because we talk about how everyone tried to do an MCU but like rushed to hell and
Yeah.
like without the soul of it that the MCU kind of thrived on for that first 8 years, where we were getting these individual, because now what it feels like Marvel's pivoting to, and they've earned this pivot, is we're gonna save our solo stories and our character development moments for the TV shows. If Moon Knight got his own movie, maybe by the end of the series I'll feel different, but if Moon Knight got his own movie, it would feel rushed and we wouldn't be as connected to Mark and Steven as we are. Versus now we get this whole series to flesh out who they are, who Khonshu is, how they've gotten to where they are without making it feel like a contrived scene in a 2.5 hour movie. And the movies are saved for events, right? Your films are saved for your Spider-Man No Way Homes, your Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madnesses, where this is where those stories are going to culminate. And maybe like it will also be a driving story for a single character, but that's just a way to anchor it for marketing. You know? And what that allows them to do is tell stories that develop, center around characters and develop their characters without worrying about, well, we need to release 85 movies now. Like we need to double our film output because we need to develop all of these new characters we're working with. There's no way we'd be seeing She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, without Disney Plus and without the TV.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you. I agree with you completely.
So I think what DC will find when they look into this isn't that they can't do it from like a financial standpoint, but that they're going to have to maybe adapt. It's so funny that I'm putting it this way. They might have to adapt to the current Marvel model of what if we have TV shows to develop our characters, or what if we just start doing event movies with no background?
Yeah.
DC's good at that. DC's really good at, here's an event, we will establish where you are in the universe in the opening act, and you don't have to worry about that. Everyone knows enough people know Batman or have access to Batman background that as long as he's the foundation, you're fine.
Yeah.
And
same with Superman, universally known story.
So
unless you're a WB executive, in which point you don't realize Krypton got destroyed, but
yeah,
it's still so funny to me.
But yeah, I think that what they're going to find is they just don't have the time. Look at all the movies we already have slated to come out.
Yeah.
That all just got pushed back again. And you can't bank, right? And currently what's going on in the outside, it's starting to ease up, but you still can't reliably make a movie,
yeah,
or time your releases correctly. Disney's finally getting back on track with that. But
yeah, no, I think you're right. Keeping it in the realm
our next
of
story was.
Huh?
I just remembered what our next story was. Continue.
Keeping it in the realm of WB. A really interesting article by Rebecca Rubin, also of Variety. Fantastic Beasts, how scandal and controversy have derailed the Wizarding franchise. For the title of this clip and in our article, I called it Fantastic Beasts and How to Kill a Legendary Franchise, which I thought was funny. A day prior to the glitzy world premiere of Fantastic Beasts and the Secrets of Dumbledore, Ezra Miller, who has a key role in the upcoming Harry Potter spinoff, was arrested for disorderly conduct and harassment. In another timeline, Miller, known for striking red carpet outfits and zany interviews, would have been front and center to promote Secrets of Dumbledore, which opens in North American theaters on April 15th. I didn't even know it was here yet. Instead, that incident and other eyebrow-raising events forced WB to downplay Miller's involvement in the franchise. Complicating matters is the fact that Miller also headlines DC Comics adaptation The Flash. It's the latest in a long list of controversies plaguing Fantastic Beasts. The Fantastical series was intended to wring newfound riches from author J.K. Rowling's sprawling Wizarding World after 2011's Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 capped off a decade of generation-defining blockbusters that turned Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson into household names. But through a combination of bad luck, casting choices gone wrong, creative shortfalls, and diminishing box office returns, the prequel story, which is set decades prior to the adventures of Harry, Ron, and Hermione, has become a headache for Warner Brothers rather than expanding the franchise's relevance beyond Potter and his pals. Fantastic Beasts hasn't managed to justify its existence without everyone's favorite boy wizard. This is their Star Wars franchise. You expect more, says exhibitor relations analyst Jeff Brock, in reference to Disney's premier franchise set in a galaxy far, far away. This is supposed to be a crown jewel, and it's not behaving like one. WB declined to comment. Shocker. For Warner Brothers, Harry Potter is one of the two flagship franchises, DC Comics being the other one, intended to prop up the studio's film strategy in an era where streaming services have fashioned themselves as major rivals to traditional players. But what happens when your Tiffany brand starts to rust? Miller's arrest, which took place nearly 2 years after footage surfaced of the actor appearing to choke a woman outside a bar in Iceland, finally someone's acknowledging that, adds to the troubles that have mounted since the third Fantastic Beasts was greenlit. Given lackluster reception for 2018's sequel, The Crimes of Grindelwald, Warner Brothers initially postponed filming in 2019 to retool the third movie rather than churn out follow-ups on an assembly line. COVID-19 added more delays, and that time Johnny Depp, who portrayed Gellert Grindelwald in the first two installments, was forced to exit. Also, all of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial stuff, y'all need to do better at reading. I have seen on Facebook the same article from August 2020 that people are sharing as Johnny Depp wins the lawsuit when they're still in the middle of it. Y'all are illiterate. Anyway, after he lost his libel case against the British tabloid The Sun, which published an article calling him a wife beater, he has been replaced with Mads Mikkelsen, who I love. Johnny Depp, I think, was probably a better choice for Grindelwald in the first place. During the same period, Harry Potter creator J.K. Rowling went from beloved author to deeply polarizing figure due to her controversial views on sex and gender. Let me rephrase that. J.K. Rowling is a turf piece of shit and has become buddy-buddy with some of the worst transphobes in the public space. And last week, Warner Media chairman Ann Sarnoff, who was responsible for overseeing the larger Harry Potter universe, was ushered out of the company ahead of its merger with Discovery. Kevin Tsujihara was initially at the helm of everything Potter before he was ousted as chairman in 2019. Toby Emmerich, Warner Brothers Pictures Group chairman, and Curtis Valente, president of production and development, managed the film franchise, so the Spellbound property isn't completely in limbo. In case those entanglements weren't taxing enough, audiences don't really seem to like the series, which is a problem. After frequent complaints from moviegoers about tangled plotting and overabundance of characters and not enough meaningful connection to the deeply admired books, Warner Brothers and returning director David Yates took painstaking steps to retool the story and recapture the charm of the original saga. That meant hiring screenwriter Steve Kloves, who penned 7 Harry Potter movies, to co-write Fantastic Beasts 3 with Rowling. It also involved relegating once prominent characters like Catherine Walterson's Tina Goldstein to the fringes in favor of elevating the screen time of Jude Law's Dumbledore and Mads Mikkelsen's Grindelwald. It hasn't entirely helped. Variety's chief film critic, Peter DeBrudge, called the last entry a vastly improved sequel, but for the most part, Secrets of Dumbledore hasn't been particularly received well.
Wait, did you just say vastly improved?
Yeah. The bar's on the floor.
They're saying Crimes of Grindelwald. Am I understanding this right?
No. They're saying that Secrets of Dumbledore is an improvement on Crimes of Grindelwald.
Okay. I thought they were saying Crimes of Grindelwald was an improvement on the first one. And I was about to get heated.
No. That was in reference here. Let me... Here, I clicked the link. Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore review. Mads Mikkelsen goes dark. J.K. Rowling goes deep and emotional middle chapter. I don't care what J.K. Rowling has to say because she is a piece of shit. There have always been franchises that have been hit with problems, but not like this. Stephen Galloway, the dean of Champara University Film School, or Chapman. My screen looked like an R because I had shit on my screen. Chapman. I was very confused with why I said myself. This is a confluence of events that does not bode well. At the box office, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them was commercially successful, growing more than 800 million globally. But the follow-up, Crimes of Grindelwald, was dinged by negative reviews and stalled out at 650 million worldwide, a nearly 20% decline from the first film. It's the lowest growing Potter film to date. The upcoming Secrets of Dumbledore faces an especially fraught movie-going landscape. Since COVID-19 upended the theatrical business, only 5 Hollywood box office movies have generated at least 500 million at the worldwide box office. That means, believe it or not, Fantastic Beasts 3 will struggle to come close to its predecessor in terms of box office returns. Internationally, where the series is especially popular, the third Fantastic Beast faces other challenges. Dumbledore is openly gay in the newest movie, unless you're in China, which could damage the box office in some places. Okay, yeah, China, Saudi Arabia, and UAE. But we all know that the 6 seconds of relevant Dumbledore homosexuality were cut from the movie. Shocker. Secrets of Dumbledore won't play in Russia, another country known to remove scenes involving homosexuality due to the invasion of Ukraine. Those drawbacks could be cause for concern. I clicked out of the article. Those drawbacks could be cause for concern because of the first 2 Fantastic Beasts installments made nearly 75% of the revenues from foreign sales. And the tentpoles have not gotten less expensive to produce, even as the global box office for Hollywood films has contracted. After shelling out $200 million for each of the first 2 films, WB made a concerted effort to rein in the budget for Secrets of Dumbledore, working to keep the price tag in the high $100 million range. But pricey COVID-19 protocols wound up erasing those efforts. The third film still carries a $200 million budget, not including expensive marketing costs. Declining box office ticket sales suggest that the Fantastic Beasts charm the fans or convincing young kids into aspiring witches and wizards. Hasn't converted, I should say. That has reverberating effects on the larger wizarding world, which has become much more than a film franchise. There are theme parks at Universal Studios in Orlando, Hollywood, and Japan, as well as live events and tour stops, a successful Broadway play, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, and endless consumer products that could fill the vaults of Gringotts and then some. Think hundreds of millions in profits. Feature film revenue is the tip of the iceberg here, Galloway says. It's pretty crucial to their business moving forward. Yeah. So we're just going to pause here and discuss, because I mean, basically the rest of this is like a recap of recent Wizarding World material. Yeah. So, Travis, I'll let you go first because I've been peppering in my J.K. Rowling slander as we've been going.
First of all, successful Broadway play. Ha.
It made money.
Yes, and that is technically the definition of successful, even though it is very terrible.
Yeah.
Man, I think it's time to hang up the Harry Potter movies. Like, it's okay. You can rest now. I'm sure you can milk those theme parks. I want to go to Wizarding World at some point in my life, which I will be, conflicted on doing because I know where some of that money's going to end up going, and I will feel shitty about it. But, I am enough of a fan of the franchise to want it to succeed, and I want, I want to remember it as a thing from my childhood that I can always go back to. You know, I want always to have the ability to go, oh, you haven't watched Harry Potter. Let's take a weekend and we're going to bang out these 8 movies. 8. Only 8. Maybe 9 if you're really feeling it. You know, I don't need, nobody needs 85 Fantastic Beasts movies. I think they got a little lost in the first movie, Sauce. You know, it did well enough that they were like, all right, narrative time, tie it into the books, tie it into the original movies. We teased these characters that you know about. You know, I was talking. One of my coworkers shares the same opinion with you about Mads Mikkelsen and Johnny Depp as Grindelwald. And what I will tell everyone listening, what I told her, which was, my guess is that they did not expect to have a sequel at first, let alone a sequel basically starring Grindelwald. So after the fact, they were like, "Well, I guess we're with Johnny Depp now. That's the road we're taking." Oops.
Until it very abruptly wasn't.
Yeah. Which at that point, why not just recast them for the second movie?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
wait.
very curious to see if they like explain away that like Johnny Depp isn't even Grindelwald's real face, and that like since he so convincingly shapeshifted into Colin Farrell for the first one, that like this is just another form, and he's keeping people guessing. Like that's an easy out.
Yeah. Yeah, you got magic
And
to explain his face.
What?
You got magic to explain his face. It's not recasting isn't a big deal.
Exactly. When your franchise is built on the back of a magic system like this, you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, I want Warner Brothers to do the right thing and cut J.K. Rowling out. I know there's like no feasible way to really do that.
No. I mean, and again, on one hand, you know, I wish very few creatives have the kind of stranglehold on their franchise that Rowling has. The only other person she can be compared to in terms of maintained creative control of their franchise was George Lucas.
Yeah. That is accurate.
Who kept fucking everything until he decided to sell it all.
And now we have something that has decent continuity. At the very least. Even if you don't like the sequels, there are no glaring issues with, plot. Don't worry about it. Hey, Disney's infallible. They're a company.
Hey, you Spice Runner?
Don't worry about it. That's my
Poe
side
Dameron,
hustle.
Runner of Spice.
No, Poe Dameron, Runner of Spice, child of the I almost said the Republic, but that's not right. Child of the Rebel Alliance.
Rebellion war heroes conceived during the Battle of Endor. Anyway. But
yeah, I think
digress.
that if Warner Brothers can somehow buy out Harry Potter from J.K. Rowling and just make her shut up and shut off her Twitter and never talk about it again, and they sat down and they got a creative team and they restructured what they were doing to actually make sense and be something people wanted to watch, then I think you could compare Harry Potter to be Warner Brothers. I read this article when you sent me the notes 2 days ago, yesterday, whatever.
Yeah.
Genuinely cackled when I read that. Like, bruh. I get people like Harry Potter. And maybe in scope, you could compare the two in terms of like the outreach they have.
Yeah.
Man, Harry Potter is not Star Wars. Not anymore. Maybe if you had hit me with that 5 years ago.
I I will take that. I will say that in 2011, you can compare Harry Potter to Star Wars.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
So here's my thing.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. What were you saying, Trevi?
I was gonna say, just buy out J.K. Rowling, shut off her Twitter, never let her say anything about the franchise ever again, and then she can go be a turf piece of shit over here, away from everybody else.
Stop ruining the fun. Keep writing murder mystery novels under a pseudonym about cross-dressers killing women in bathrooms because that's a normal thing to do. You psychotic piece of shit.
We can rework the franchise to not make it endorse slavery.
Well, that's the thing, and that keeping the Star Wars comparison. I'm not going to pretend that I think that Star Wars has no blood on its hands with weird political messages. Lest we forget the cringy racial undertones throughout Phantom Menace, where like it's one stereotype after another with the Neimoidians of the Trade Federation, Jar Jar Binks, and Watto. Like, Star Wars has its own host of problematic shit. And Star Wars has the worst fandom on the planet. You can't convince me otherwise. Like, literally, the nerd hate group was born out of Star Wars. And to quote the prescient Robert Evans, as Travis and I are off to do, every group has its weirdo Nazis. I'm not saying that everyone like a thing is a Nazi. I'm not saying that, but every group of people has its, or every fandom, every franchise, every community has its group of fucking weirdos who ruin it for everyone. So with me, as I've always said, Star Wars is my first love. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that my franchise has no blood on its hands. However, George Lucas is not as objectively fucking problematic as J.K. Rowling.
George did some dumb things. He made some really dumb moves. And then someone finally convinced him, hey, you're making some dumb plays here. Why don't you let some people that are professional creative, not that he's not a professional creative, that is really mean. And I'm sorry, George, that's not what I meant. Why don't you let some people who are like corporate level, we're going to keep your shit in line, take care of this, and you get to ride off into the sunset.
Well, yeah, and there's that, there's all those things. The issue with Harry Potter is that I recommended highly, Sean, the video I sent you, and I think someone else put something on TikTok where they use the verbiage of the alligator under the bed, right? And that with certain franchises, especially when its core demographic is kids, have an alligator under the bed where
I need you to know very quickly.
Yeah.
I lost you for a second. It's not on your end. My earbud just died. You're good.
Okay. The alligator under the bed, which is kind of a very, this is a kind of built-in problem. One could say plot hole that kind of rests under the franchise. And as long as we don't acknowledge it, we won't come to a screeching halt and you won't break your world. J.K. Rowling has made a point to stick her foot in the alligator's mouth at every opportunity that presents itself. Hey, house elves aren't bad. They like being slaves. Here are my grumpy hook-nosed bankers. We have to save the world. The Holocaust has to happen. Like, all of those are things that she has doubled and tripled down on in recent time. Like, I don't even necessarily think that J.K. Rowling is necessarily an anti-Semitic person. Like, I don't think that like she has like how like most white women have a live, laugh, love sign in their kitchen. I don't think she has one with like the fucking 14 words or blood and soil or anything. But like, when someone says, hey, you're dealing in anti-Semitic tropes, Like these are things in our shared culture, in our shared history, in our mythology, in our fiction that have always been used as shorthand for something deeply fucked up. And your decision is to not go, oh, damn, I'm sorry. And you don't look at it and go, oh, no, that was never my intention. You know, like to take the L on that does not mean you go, yeah, I hate whatever, ethnic group or religious group or whatever group of queer people she's going to decide she hates that day and has questions about. Put that in big quotation marks. It doesn't necessarily mean that, but what it means is that you're unwilling to listen. Now, she has made her views on the trans community abundantly clear, and she can fuck right off with all of them and hang out with all of her new turf buddies. And nothing but love to the queer folk in England who have to deal with what I would say is probably the most transphobic country by per capita on the planet. At least in terms of, you're legally allowed to exist, I guess. So no, it's just all a trash fire. I have such a hard time investing in it. And the thing that sets it apart is that J.K. Rowling's backwards ass political views end up in her fiction. And again, it's like Sean said in that video, and it was so brilliant, where at no point in the aftermath of defeating Voldemort does anybody go, hey, maybe our power structures aided in this. Maybe we fucked up and let him come and let him do these things. There's none of that. There's an admission that maybe a wizard supremacist society is bad. There's none of that. So her politics end up being integral. And then every time it's like, oh, hey, this is kind of weird and problematic, she then doubles down on it. She can't just go, yeah, I wish I didn't do that with the goblins. She yells at you for telling you that what she did with the goblins is fucked up and goes, no, I won't learn. I won't evolve. I won't change. It makes it impossible for me, at least, to get into it. Now factor in Ezra Miller and their shitty behavior.
Yeah.
We have been talking for 2 fucking years now about when is someone going to acknowledge the time that they choke slammed somebody.
And no one did until just recently. After they got arrested, people were like, hey, remember that time when they were filmed in Iceland doing this on a lesser scale? And everyone went, oh, yeah, we should have.
Yeah, you know who didn't forget? The Nerd Academy doesn't forget, motherfucker.
It's all connected. It's all connected.
It's all connected. So there's their shitty behavior as well, which affects DC. Okay, Fantastic Beasts. WB tells Johnny Depp to kick rocks, and Amber Heard still has a leading role in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Now, I've said before, I don't feel super confident commenting on the Johnny Depp Amber Heard situation because I am so confused by it, and so much has been going on for so long that I feel like I have so much catching up to do on it that I've never felt super comfy commenting on it. But I do feel like Amber Heard's transgressions are a lot more publicly known than Johnny Depp's. So the fact that one of them has a job and one of them doesn't is still astounding. If WB had made the decision to fire both of them, I think this would be a lot less of an issue, quite frankly. Not that that's the right thing to do, but the fact that both of them are hired is a mess. This franchise is broken. It is constantly mired in controversy, and it is not the kind of controversy that is born out of its shitty fan base. Again, that's where the Star Wars comparison, the last time Star Wars had a big controversy, it was Gina Carano and her talking shit on Twitter, and then they fired her. Granted, they did it quietly and they just let her contract expire. But after Carano, they cleaned house, they got rid of her. And yeah, they still have problems. You know, there's Quantic Dream with Star Wars Eclipse, hashtag Blackout Star Wars Eclipse. But there's all of the almost every time there's an issue on that front, it gets handled in some way. You know, here you have your creative who's shitty, backwards, like very, you know, like I don't know how to describe it. And again, I can't recommend Sean's video enough. I'm gonna link it in the comment in the description. It's incredible. It's really good. Please go watch it. This is terrible. And I won't be seeing this movie. Maybe I'll watch it when it's on HBO Max. You know, maybe I'll watch it on streaming, but I'm not contributing to the box office because the other story we have that ties into this, one that I think is very interesting. Well, first of all, as of 3 days ago, we're looking at a $40 million opening weekend, which is bad. But we also have reports that they may not even move forward with the rest of the franchise if it does not perform well at the box office.
Mhm.
And, you know, there was a lot of discourse in the wake of Morbius that was very, you know, if you want Sony to stop making these shitty villain movies, stop seeing them, which, yeah, sure. But also, I don't have a moral issue with a bad movie about Venom.
That's fair.
I have an ethical problem with this loony bitch making millions upon millions off of these movies that we've all agreed are kind of ass. So, yeah. Travis, ready to do some Moon Knight talk before we go? Because we gotta bring this bad boy home soon.
Yeah.
That's my train of thought. So, first 3 episodes of Moon Knight. I am loving this show. And I think, and you were talking about format earlier, and I'm glad you brought that up. I don't know if we've talked, every MCU show has had the stage in its discourse where people go, maybe this would have been better as a binge. And every time, I don't think I agree with it. We said I think we landed with What If that maybe it would be better as a binge.
Mm-hmm.
We still have half the show to go. I think Moon Knight might end up being better as a binge.
So, yeah.
Also, excellent work in the show, buddy.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, really, really tough stuff. I had to really earn that paycheck. Fun fact: they actually paid me 2 wages because I played 2 parts.
Maybe 3.
So I think there's a lot to unpack with that discussion.
Yes.
That I will try to do briefly. I have seen Ben Bateman, right? Notable media figure Ben Bateman talk about he said something about, you know, Moon Knight should have been a movie. This feels too slow. I'm not into it. And I think Disney has kind of hit their point, and streaming media has kind of hit a point. When the idea of the streaming service exclusive show happened, they rightfully, I don't want to say abused. That's not the right word. Utilize the fact that you don't have commercials on the show that you use to break up your plot, and that you can just drop it all at once. You know that from your analytics, people like to sit there and watch for like however many hours. So rightfully, when Daredevil comes out and it's all whatever it was, 10 episodes at the time.
I think it was 12.
Okay.
It's like 8 or 12.
Oh yes, the 12 episode season meta. Which is another discussion, right? Like the TV storytelling is so different now compared to you.
Yeah.
You look back in 2015, right? A season of television was 22 episodes, maybe 23, depending on when in the season you started. And everyone was 20 minutes long. Everyone fit that 22-minute format, whatever. And half your episodes were ass. That was how it worked. And then again, Game of Thrones comes in and goes, well, we're on HBO. We can do whatever the hell we want. 13 episode season. 13 episode season.
Here's $500 million an episode. Like, movie quality special effects and, production quality. Butts, boobs, dicks, swords, dragons.
Like they went, oh, if
Emmys.
We up the budget, all the Emmys. If we up the budget, we can't make as many episodes. Oh wait, so we just make all killer, no filler episodes? Wait a minute. Did we just crack the format? So Game of Thrones comes in. Whatever Game of Thrones did, I don't remember. And they kind of set the standard for a while, right? Whatever Game of Thrones season length was, that was the new season length.
Yeah.
Which I remember Daredevil following. So it was probably 12 at the time. And then I think Game of Thrones did 10 and everyone started doing 10. And then they did 8. And now Disney's like, hey, watch this. 6.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, they stay consistent with the 8 episodes, but they do 6 for like the limited run stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's Mitch put it best. Mitch is, I remember, I forget when what review it was that we were talking and he said, well, yeah, it's always 6 hours of television. So like WandaVision's 8 episodes, but the total runtime of WandaVision is the same as Loki or Moon Knight. Which I think is genius. To look at it from that perspective, here's our total runtime. What is our most efficient storytelling way of breaking it up? Where like WandaVision loses its luster if like episode 1 and 2 are an hour long, right? It doesn't keep you engaged nearly as well. So they're doing really well with that aspect. I think where it hinders you, and I think where we keep getting these, we're 3 episodes deep and everyone just wants the rest of it. First of all, if you're 3 episodes deep and you just want the rest of it, that means it's good.
Exactly.
Like you're frustrated, you want more of it. That means you really like it. The issue is when you look at it as one whole story. Your story is more cohesive, but that also means releasing it weekly is going to leave your people high and dry.
Yeah.
But also capitalism.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what streaming service did it first where they went, okay, so like if we put everyone got this streaming service for this one show, like everyone heard about Daredevil. I don't think Netflix did this. I don't remember. And even Netflix has started, Netflix has almost never done episode releases. And even they are starting to falter where they're doing
it a little bit, but I mean, that was something that like people talk about with Disney Plus, we're like, okay, like The Mandalorian. Oh, they're going to drop it. I'm going to get Disney Plus. I'm going to watch all of The Mandalorian, and then I'm going to cancel my subscription until season 2. Same thing. But now they get you for 2 months because the show comes out over 2 months.
And that's the thing, right? Like no one's going to wait. They know no one's going to wait. I'm sure they get subscriber spikes at the beginning of every Star Wars show. Granted, anymore, and once you get them once, right? This is how these things work. I know I have too many of them. Once a streaming service gets you once, where you go, I'm going to get it, I'm going to cancel it right after, we'll be good. if you don't watch that whole thing in one sitting and cancel it as the credits roll, you will come out of it, you'll be at the main menu, and your eye will spot something you want to watch. And you'll never watch that thing, but goddamn, you're going to keep that subscription.
So that you can at some point.
Yeah. So at this point, we're never going to get here's the whole series, just watch it. And I think the trade-off is we get a better cohesive story being told at the expense of around episode 3, you're going to feel a dip because it's the break. Like it's like we're maybe because it's 6 episodes and it feels like we're still mid act 2, but we have to wait for the rest of act 2.
Yeah.
Is what's doing it. I don't know.
Well, I want to jump into talking about the story because
Yeah.
I've been I've been really enjoying Moon Knight.
We could do a whole episode on the meta of TV storytelling.
Yeah. Talking story about Moon Knight and the story so far. I've been really enjoying it. Obviously neither of us suffer from DID. So that's not something I personally feel super qualified to speak on its depiction. However, I will say I have seen on the interwebs a couple people kind of say if you're talking about DID mostly spawned on by supernatural means, this is not an offensive depiction of it. A lot of people have brought up Split as the way not to do it, where you're like doing it is like, no, you shut up, no, you shut up, and how that kind of has its own ableist undertones and isn't, on the money. That the Moon Knight does it well. So as somebody who does not have the expertise to personally critique it in that way, I have seen people laud it. So I will say that much because that was something that we were worried about going in.
Yeah.
They have not tried to disappear Mark's Jewish heritage. We have seen multiple times that he's wearing a Star of David necklace. So, like, literally just the fact that they acknowledged it, I think, is a win. I know that there are many a Jewish Marvel fan who are disappointed in the MCU, and I don't blame you. We're not going to get into the Scarlet Witch de-Jewishification of her, which is problematic. I think it has its explanations, but none of them are excuses, of course. That's its own can of worms. That said, I think that the fact that we have according to the people who I think it matters the most to, a respectful depiction of DID and an acknowledgement of Moon Knight. Let's say Moon Knight to cover all the personalities, and an acknowledgement of Moon Knight's Jewish heritage, I think, is awesome. I've been enjoying the story. I like whenever it has horror elements. I like the fact that it feels like a horror story when Steven is in the driver's seat, and it feels like an action adventure when Mark is in the driver's seat. Because that's what it would be. If you're just the guy, if you're just some dude who's just going along to get along, and you wake up covered in some other guy's blood in maybe Latveria, yeah, I'd be a little freaked out too. I think that's terrifying. If I'm not used to hanging out with the giant bird monster and I see it barreling down the hallway at me, I'm going to be fucking terrified. If I'm a mercenary who kills people for money and is all kinds of morally bankrupt, and I hang out with this giant beaked moon god all the time, beating some guy's brains in and seeing beaked moon god isn't going to faze me that much. So I really appreciate that approach. I like I really like the visual language of the show so far. I love how often it is highlighting duality, all of the work with reflections. There was a shot in the first 2 episodes where Steven is talking to the gold guy, and we're seeing everything from the reflection of the fountain. It's like a puddle outside of the fountain, and we're seeing the reflection, and then we see it slowly resolve back up. I think that's a genius. I think this has some of the like most interesting camera work in the MCU.
Oh yeah, like
Like,
noticeably so.
yeah, like I really like the decisions they're making behind the camera. And again, Oscar Isaac's performance, also known as Travis, is incredible. I think he's doing great. I love the conflict we get with him. Normally, stories, especially superhero stories, where it's I couldn't tell you, I can't. If I tell you, you'll get hurt. If I tell you, you'll be in danger. Is a little overplayed. It's kind of old hat at this point. This is the first time in a very long time that type of conflict has felt sincere.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen speculation about how Khonshu is trying to get Layla to become his new avatar because she's destined to become an avatar for Amet, which I think is interesting. Again, this is one of those sides of the MCU that's like I was anticipating this to be a lot more street level when going into the show. I was not
And-
expecting the central thrust to be this supernatural. And I thought
think-
we were getting street level Moon Knight. And I was like, cool, I could contribute to this and like comic book stuff. And it's like, oh, this is all the supernatural shit. Super excited. I don't know dick about what's going on right now, and that excites me.
I think this is the first time that Marvel has taken this big of a leap, and not that it misses, but that for the first time, people are going, "Wait, what the hell is going on?" You know, coworkers of mine in particular, like interactions I've had with people where they're like, "I've been watching this show. Do you know anything about what's happening?" And like because they don't have prior Moon Knight context, and even like we have very minimal. So I'm going like, okay, here's the deal. He's got DID. He's also got a moon god in him. It's unclear if he had DID or if the moon god caused the DID or if like they never really go into that in the comics. I know that because I read the Wikipedia article. So like don't expect an explanation, just roll with it.
Yeah. I think it's a very good summation of it. I think
that's also the problem though, is that the people are so used to the Marvel Cinematic Universe wanting to explain it and give the background and like, okay, here's everything you need to know about this person. And I think this might be the first time where that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with. Because once you accept that and you're not looking for it, it's fine. I think if you go in and you're 3 episodes deep going, when are they going to tell me who this person is? Like, when do I finally get to see the background of them as a kid? And I don't want it.
Me either. If in a Moon Knight story, keep me guessing as to what the fuck is real. You know?
Yeah.
Like something like even going into like the big ending for episode 3 where Khonshu like returned the stars. I did not think that was going to be very meaningful until I looked at the internet and people are like, if he rewound time and space for 2,000 years, then like Xandar and Asgard and the Infinity Stones are back. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I did not, like, that never crossed my mind. Like, I just thought, like, I don't know what I was looking at. And now I have no idea what the greater ramifications are going to be. You know, like the biggest connections that Moon Knight has had to the MCU have been things like the GRC banner on the bus and like other passing things. You know, we haven't even had an acknowledgement of the snap yet. You
Mhm.
know, like the closest thing we've had is that they have it written that they're like IDs date back to 2018, and it's like, okay, well, maybe they survived the snap, but also like they're fake IDs. So maybe that's the perfect time to claim you were alive, was when you were in fact dead. Um no, I agree with that completely. I think it'll, I mean, if they do it well, I'll be super okay with them giving us like a flashback to Mark first meeting Khonshu.
Mhm. Which I would expect we could see that.
That's
some
what I
point.
want to see. But I don't want to see, like, because he even says like, "Oh, I've had this under control up until recently." I don't need an explanation for that. If they give me one, cool. I don't need it.
Yeah.
Not by
And
a
I
long
think
shot.
that it's that we're conditioned to want to look for it. Like we're conditioned
Yeah,
that it's
that's true.
coming.
That's
So
true.
when it doesn't come, your brain goes, something's wrong. Things wires aren't connecting because you're wanting the explanation. When
Yeah,
you know, strap in and enjoy the ride.
I agree with you completely on that. Also, the action has been incredible. I loved the back and forth between Steven and Mark in this most recent episode. Uh, I love the ceremonial healing armor. Uh, I'm really enjoying this so far, and I'm very excited for episode 4. I love the fact that I know the only thing I trust is that I can't trust anything, which is always a fun narrative element for stories like this. I'm very curious as to where we're going next. Uh, and now that Khonshu is off the table, I am curious as to how much of Moon Knight's ability to Moon Knight is off the table. Because I'd hazard a guess that ceremonial armor is no longer an option.
Yeah, because his suit recedes like as he loses the power, right? Like as Khonshu gets sealed, the suit falls away.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I forgot about that. I knew he was wearing white. I forgot he went full Mr. Knight when the
Mhm.
sky turned back. That's true. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this show so far. I think it's really good. I don't know if it's my favorite, and I do agree with some of the pacing issues. I do think the show is a little slow. But again, when we have the full thing, we'll see what we think with the completed story. I think that's all we have for you guys this week, Travis. Unless you have any more thoughts.
I will say every single one of these shows, people have been like, wow, this show's moving too slow. And every single time I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? They released one episode. You watched one episode. Um, I don't know. I just never feel the pacing problems with these shows. Maybe because we're watching it one at a time. And so I'm like, that was a nice hour I spent on this TV show that I really enjoyed. And then the next week rolls around and then I watch it and the I just don't feel bored, I guess, when I watch these shows.
No, that's fair. That's fair. No,
And then
that's I also want to say, for me, slow and bored don't necessarily mean the same. And I almost always agree with you on people complaining about the pacing. This is the first time that I legitimately am like, this is kind of moving at a slower clip than I'd like. But you know, slow pacing and bad pacing don't mean the same thing. It's just slow for me. Uh But yeah, I think that's all we got. Travis, where can the lovely people find you, good friend?
they can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Travis Political. Jared,
There you go. Yes.
where?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Dark Jedi 2552, and you can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on our website, www.thenerdacademypodcast.com, where, if you're feeling generous, you can donate to our Patreon page.
Give me $1.
Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus, Nick Johnson. And Alex Jones's QAnon horse, ivermectin. Knights of the Nerd Republic versus series stream is happening tonight. We're doing our tournament where we take all the characters we used in the last season and pit them against each other. It's going to be a lot of fun, and then we'll get the versus series back up and running in May with a special episode to hearken in Obi-Wan Kenobi. Speaking of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Star Wars Celebration is at the end of next month, and I will be live streaming the entirety of it. I will not be present at the convention. I will, however, be bringing you guys all of the news, updates, and reviews from the convention, live streaming it here, and I'll also have people who are in Anaheim calling into the stream to keep us up to date. So stay tuned for that. Be sure you like and subscribe to make sure you are up to date for Celebration when it comes around. Number one contender will be out tomorrow, hopefully. And hopefully next week we will have a review out for Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. So stay tuned for that as well. I've been enjoying that game, but I have some issues with it, and we'll get into it then. In the meantime, while you're on the website, you can go to the Student Store link where you can check out our TeePublic.
tpublic.com.
Get all manner of Nerd Academy merch and goodies. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the things. Thank you all so very much for watching and listening. And class dismissed.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar.